Thank you everyone for showing up today. We greatly appreciate you spending this time with us and look forward to answering your questions and helping you understand more about what we're trying to do in Hazelwood. I'm going to get it started here by starting with the introductions of the panel. My name is Amber Thompson. I'm the moderator and the founder of DBias. I'm focused on understanding the data and the equity and really trying to make sure that this achieves what the people in the community wanted to achieve.
My name is Saundra Cole McCamey, and I am the CEO, president of Poor Law. Poor Law stands for People of Origin, Rightfully Loved and Wanted.
Praise the Lord, everyone. I am Pastor Latul Love Sr. I am the pastor of Praise Temple Deliverance Church, which is taking over the Good Shepherd, former Good Shepherd Church down on 2nd and Johnson. I am also the co-founder and vice president of the Greater Hazelwood Coalition Against Racial and Ethnic Disparity and senior development consultant for Poor Law. I'd like to welcome everybody in the house tonight.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sonia Tillman. I'm the Executive Director of Hazelwood Initiative.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gordon Hall, and I'm a project manager with the Urban Redevelopment Authority. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for your time. My name is Chad Ott. I'm one of the co-presidents of Stor Masters.
And I'm Joe Mesaro, the Chief Strategy Officer at Beam Collaborative, acting as project manager for the development.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Juan Lacy. I'm CEO and founder of Farms Close By.
Good evening. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. I'm Kevin McPhillips. I'm the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Center for Employee Ownership.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melinda. I am here with Giant Eagle from Community Engagement. I'm here to talk a little bit about the current mobile market as well as how we can support the store going forward.
I'm Mora Holiday. I'm the general manager at Easton Food Cooperative over in Point Breeze.
Good evening. I'm Krish Pandya, managing partner of Oak Moss, and I'm here because we're going to talk a little bit about why we think this is a viable project. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Baker with PNC Bank. I'm here to talk a little bit about the tax credit investment opportunities to help with the financing of the project.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bill Bailey. I'm the president and CEO of Infinite Prosperity and of D1 Associates. And my role is to help build wealth in the community through common ownership of common assets, common financial assets. So that's what I'm here for. Thanks.
My name is Carl Redwood, a board member of Hill District Consensus Group. One thing we need to look at is how community benefits agreements can be part of this process.
Hi, everyone. My name is Barb Warwick. I'm the city council person here in Hazelwood for District 5, and thank you all so much for coming out to hear about this co-op grocery store project, the Sarah Dixon Innovation Center, and thank you also to everyone here. I know we also have Khalid Morris and Pete Byford on Zoom. If I don't know if they want to introduce themselves.
All right, Bob.
Pete or Khalid, you can introduce yourselves. All right, so Pete and Khalid are also part of the team. Again, this is the team working on the Sarah Dixon Innovation Center, and it will be a community-owned co-op, and part of the center is a grocery store. We have some other ideas of what else could be part of this center, but that's what we're here today to talk to you about. I'm going to kick it off to Pastor Love to introduce some history regarding past issues in the community regarding a grocery store.
Okay. Before we get started, I know we got started, but just a moment, just one moment of prayer, silent prayer for everyone, whatever denomination or whichever you believe in. Just take one moment of prayer and give thanks to our God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. As you probably know, some of you, but for full transparency, I'm going to pull my mask down. For full transparency, I am 100% blind. So next to me, we have the infinite Sandra Cole, and she's going to be assisting me. We may not go slide by slide, word by word, but we'll give you a brief idea of where we're coming from. Most of you from the community and those who work in the community already know that we've been trying to get a grocery store in this community for decades. And that it's the will of the people who live here that wants this grocery store and need the grocery store. And of course, I'm a resident here. I have children living here and grandchildren, so I fit in that category, and so does Sandra. Just a little history. First with the name, Sarah Dixon Innovation Center. Most of you may have known Sarah Dixon, met her, or she helped you one way or another. She's a mother of our community. She was, and she always will be. She's helped many, many people here, from childhood all the way raising up. Sarah is pastor. She's now deceased, and we felt that we need to, and she had an office right there in the 4800 block where we're proposing to build the Sarah Dixon Innovation Center, where community builders are now building their housing development. It was the same spot that her building was in. So we felt that we need to acknowledge her. There's a lot of other people we should acknowledge, but we did get a chance to acknowledge her and give some reference to someone who's given so much back to the community. That's why the project is named Sarah Dixon Innovation Center. Okay, the project came about, I guess I should be following the slide. Sandra.
No, just the history.
Okay, and so what happened is that Poor Law board of directors felt that we needed to do something about the grocery store, not having one. And they formed what we call the Greater Hazelwood Coalition Against Racial and Ethnic Disparity, GHCARE, which is an advocacy arm of Poor Law. And we began to work with the Urban Redevelopment Authority and talk with some of the wonderful people you see up here on the stage. And finally, we formulated what we think right now is a good vision to put a store here in the community. It's moved from just being a store to being the ownership by the people who live here. That concept is a concept that we believe will work, because we know that if you own it, a part owner, if it's we help put it here, you help put it here, that we believe it will sustain itself. And later on, you will hear from Krish and talk about the market feasibility study was done. I'm ready for the slides. We only get a couple of minutes. Go ahead. What's the first thing?
Pass it to Sonia.
What's the first thing on the slide? Oh, okay, thank you. In part of our efforts, we began to partner with other groups inside and outside the community. The efforts and the concentration is on food apartheid. I don't know, some of you may not have heard of that before. Some people use the term food desert. We felt that food desert was not something that really complements our community, because we feel that deserts is something that God creates. Oh, thank you. That God creates, you know. In our situation, we don't believe was created by God. created by man. So we said food apartheid because food apartheid addresses conditions of people and the lack of equity, the lack of involvement and concentration on the people's needs. So we use food apartheid. We began to work with the Food Justice Committee, and Sandra and I now sit on that board. I serve as co-chair. Next.
It just says participate overwhelming desire neighborhood grocery store. And it's
she's reading to me what the slide say.
No, it's on the space.
Oh, okay. What else?
Space.
Is that all for me?
Yep. Is that the call?
No, so you'll learn more about it. But just one thing I want to say before I leave, and that is, we want to give special thanks to those groups in the community that have come forth and stayed with us throughout this process. Everyone we'd like to say thanks to, but it's very important that people in the community buy into what's happening with the grocery store. So people like Sonia from HI, or HI from Sonia, Edith from Arts Excursion, those community groups that's involved. We also like to thank Joe Mesaro and everybody up here on the stage. Pardon me?
Let's do that after that.
Okay. All right. Other than that, let me share, because I'm a pastor. I could talk forever.
You want to talk about why a co-op? That's one of the slides.
Okay. Okay. I was told to talk about why a co-op. Well, we look at our sister communities, and I think Carl Redwood, who's up here, very, very knowledgeable of these type of things, would agree that sometimes if the community don't step up and take ownership of the process or ownership of the actual stores, then sometimes that private developers, whether it's public or private, if they're not making enough money, they'll leave you. They'll just walk away and leave an empty building because they're not making enough money. We believe the co-op is like communities coming in together. Residents, organizations, churches, everybody coming together. You are the owners of what we are proposing. And therefore, we feel if you have ownership of it one way or the other, rather through membership, and we have someone from East End Co-op here, I think we'll talk a little bit about how they got started and how they're set up. But if you have ownership of it, a lot of the hurdles that normally would face us, we won't face. One thing for sure, we know we're not going to walk away from our own store. Second thing, we know we're going to support our own store because we know that we need it here. So that's why the co-op is very important. And we have Ron Gatis and Keith McPhillips and Kevin, I'm sorry. Sorry, Kev. And Kevin McPhillips, who's here today, that will talk about that employer ownership and co-op. So I'm gonna move. I think I took too much time as it is. So who I pass this to? Oh, thank you, Sonia. Got it? All right, thank you very much.
Yeah. So as mentioned earlier, I'm Sonia Tillman, Executive Director of Hazelwood Initiative. There's a couple of slides in here about the space. Sorry? Take your mask off so we can hear you. It's fine. I'm sorry, no. I'll talk louder and slower, but I won't take the mask off. I apologize. So there are a couple slides in the deck that are about the space. We're going to skip over those right now because as we talk with the architect a little bit later, we'll go over that. So don't think we're ignoring it. We'll just come back to it. As I said, I'm the Executive Director of Hazelwood Initiative. In the interest of time, I won't go over everything on this slide. I'll simply summarize what we do. We are the Community Development Corporation that serves mostly Greater Hazelwood, mostly Glen Hazel and Hazelwood. We do have some programming, namely our newspaper, that goes outside of that community, but most of our focus is on Greater Hazelwood. Our mission is to be a leader in to creating a stronger Hazelwood through inclusive community development. So the way that we live out that mission is a couple ways. Preserving, protecting, developing affordable rental and for sale housing, investing in our business district, advancing greening and community gardening and environmental justice goals, and providing a forum for community engagement. And one of the ways that we ensure that we try to ensure that we are as inclusive as possible is through our community meetings, through our newspaper, through our e-newsletter, through partnership with organizations who reach people that we don't reach. And so we try to make sure that we have a big enough tent for everybody to provide input, to get feedback, and to get information about things that may affect them and their families. We were asked to talk about what our role is in this project. And really, as a community development corporation, our role here is to be an advisor. Well, a couple roles: to be an advisor, but also potentially a property seller and then a neighbor. So we own 2 buildings in the 4800 block of 2nd Avenue, which is where this project will be located. One of the buildings, the former Isley's building, which is the one with the image of Tony Turner on it, that building will be part of this development. And so we have a letter of intent with Poor Law for the sale of that building. And really what that means is once the feasibility has been determined, once all the I's get dotted, all the T's get crossed, all the financing is done, we have agreed that we would sell that property to the development partnership to be part of the development. We also own Joseph's Corner. Both of these buildings, I'll say that we purchased them so that they could not be used against the community, frankly, so that they could not be used in a speculative manner to stop good development from happening in the community. Joseph's Corner will not be part of this development. We're not going to tear it down. We're going to renovate it. It's part of the community's history. It is a historic building, I'll say, though it's not on a historic register. It is over 100 years old. We so far have evaluated its stability, and it's a pretty strong building. They don't build them like that anymore. So it is very much so worth saving, and we want to make sure that we maintain that community fabric. So, and that means that we're also going to be a neighbor in this property. So, thank you.
Hello, I'm Chad Ott from Stor Masters. Oh, yeah. Chad Ott from Stor Masters. We appreciate being a part of this team. This kind of speaks to the type of company we are. We're about a 30-year-old company and growing. We focus on food and food retail, and we do focus on food retail for the independent owner and co-ops. We have a passion for what we do because everyone needs food. Everyone needs food, and everyone needs a place to put it. Right now, what we're proposing at the location is a 3-story building. That building has on-street parking or on-level parking with a 2nd story that will hold a grocery store, most likely a wellness center, and a credit union. The 3rd story right now is an aquaponics farm that we'll hear more about from Juan. Our job in this project is to make sure that you guys get what you need and what you want. We've worked on projects from $12 million to $1,000, and we just want to make sure that our expertise in grocery store and food industry is brought to the team, and we can get you guys a grocery store in your community that you guys can own and use and hopefully flourish for a long time.
Sure, so my role in the project, again, I'm Joe Mesaro. I've been project manager. Bill Bailey introduced me to Pastor Love and Sandra at least a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I've been coordinating all of the activities that go into a real estate development. We have some history in our company of doing real estate development, and so we are accessing, the capital that's required, the design that's required, the construction that's required to bring this thing to fruition.
Thanks, Joe.
Like I said before, my name is Juan Lacy. I'm the CEO of a company called Farms Close By. We're a Delaware C Corporation, also incorporated in the state of Pennsylvania. We believe that this project was actually a gift from God because this is a project that fits perfectly with the business goals and established things that we want to do. We want to be on top of a grocery store. We want to be able to provide food into a neighborhood, a food apartheid neighborhood, Pastor Love, that will help the community to be able to grow. When you look at the numbers on this it is astounding because this is a patented system. This is not a system that you will generally find anywhere. It's going to be probably the first time this system is brought into the combined Southwest Pennsylvania and Ohio corridor. Numbers, close to 300,000 heads of lettuce a year, over 18,000 pounds of fish. And our partners with Giant Eagle are going to help us to flush out what is actually going to be the desire of the community so that we can grow specifically for what you want. Thank you.
One didn't mention the system he's talking about is called Aquaponics. Aquaponics is a system using water and filtration through fish, and it's just a cycle. But we also have some ideas of using aquaponics locally in Homewood. If any of you are familiar with the Oasis Farms, they use an aquaponic farm to provide food to local food banks. Or I can't think of what the name of the word is, but free to communities. So we have something that you can look into that we can scale with this project.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us. My name is Kevin McPhillips, and I'm the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Center for Employee Ownership. And what we do for a living is we try to encourage projects just like this, like the Sarah Dixon Innovation Center. Our job is to try to raise awareness about a remarkable program that's called employee ownership that, unfortunately, very few people know about. This is going to be a grocery store, but that's not just what this is about. This is about much more than that. This is about good jobs. This is about futures, financial futures for people who work. And perhaps most importantly, this is about community. It's about creating something within Hazelwood that's going to support and bolster this community. And make no mistake, you have a role in this that's really important. Your support, your encouragement, your vocal activity about how important this is will make a real meaningful difference. And I hope everyone will support the program and make their voices heard to bring something to Hazelwood that not only is important, but they absolutely deserve. There are different kinds of employee ownership, and we have a wonderful example of a cooperative business here today. Laura's going to talk in a little bit about the East End Food Co-op that some of you may be familiar with. It's a program where for a small amount you can become a member of something that provides you great benefits, a wonderful organization. What we're proposing to do here in Hazelwood at the Sarah Dixon Innovation Center is slightly different. It's what's called a worker cooperative. And within a worker cooperative, this is owned and operated by the people that work there. Now, we can have members as well, absolutely. Everyone's invited to use the facility, the grocery store. But what we're trying to do is create something that is actually part of the community and is owned by the people that work there. It's called a worker cooperative. There's a variety of steps that go through this, and we won't go through all the details. The first part is a lot of assessment and analysis and feasibility studies, all of which have been done. So we've moved on to that. And once we're in the position where we can actually have a grocery store, what we will do is we'll do some what we call organizational development. We'll teach people what it means to be an owner of a business, because you are an owner of that business. So we'll teach people about that. And then after that training is completed, we open the store, and it's going to take a little while. There's a lot of things that have to fall into place here to make this all work, and it's not going to happen tomorrow. But when it does, it's going to be an example not just for the city of Pittsburgh, but for the nation at large. This is going to be a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I thank you all for joining us, and I look forward to the rest of the presentation.
Following this meeting, if you are interested in participating and being part of a steering committee or any part of planning for this project, we will be taking that information later, so please find me or Pastor Lev or Sandra, and we can get you on our list and reach out to you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melinda. I'm with Giant Eagle. I work in our community engagement department. I'm here today to talk about two things. The first is the mobile market. I don't know how many folks here are familiar with the mobile market or have been to the mobile market. Thank you. We are absolutely blessed to be a part of the community and to be here. I will say we got some phone calls very early on and lots of busy schedules and lots of phone calls. But we got here, and I will say that this has been one of the most successful communities in terms of immediate launch and amazing turnout. So thank you for the support. Right now there are 2 stops. There's one on 2nd Avenue on Saturdays and another one at the Glen Hazel High Rise on Wednesdays. We started out with this project, January 2022 in a handful of communities. We started out with 250 items on the mobile market. We now have 700, thanks to all of the community members and folks that provide feedback to us. Right now, just for a little bit of a level set, there are a variety of forms of payment that we do accept, credit, debit, SNAP. Really, really excited to be accepting WIC. We are the first of its kind in the state to be accepting WIC. Again, something I'm super excited about. Advantage cards, all the good things, and produce is half price all the time. So if you haven't been down, come on down. I think at the end. Perfect. And then finally, we also are working to offer, and we have and are continuing to increase wraparound services. So there's going to be some scheduled flu shots and COVID shots. Our pharmacy team will be coming out. We work with UPMC, handful of other partners. So for that piece, thank you. What I will say, I don't know if the slides are up. There's a slide of some of the interior photos. What I will say about the mobile market, it is fantastic, but it is not the be-all, end-all solution. So we want to be part of that next step. So in terms of the grocery store, we've also started some conversations. How can we continue to support? A couple of bullet points on things that we have done in the past and are a bit in our wheelhouse. So data share. We've talked a lot about what we've learned from the mobile market, what we've learned from our other stores, and what we can do to help with the build, designing store layouts, assisting with equipment purchase needs, item selection, sets in merchandising, the opportunity to supply groceries at wholesale cost and help bring down some of those costs, and then management of pricing, promotions, shelf tags, sort of store in a box, right, concept. This is a community store. But our goal is to be as supportive and helpful as we can to provide the knowledge base that we have to get things going. So thank you for having us.
And we're gonna kick it to Khalid. He is online, so I'll give him a couple minutes to let us know when he's ready. In that time, I could share some of the data that we have been able to generate. No, I'm not. Go ahead, Khalid.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be a part of this particular project. I'm sorry I cannot be there in person. I really want to be there in person. I have a speaking engagement tomorrow morning that prevented me from doing so. But this lines up directly with our mission. Family Tree Market is, I'm one of the co-founders of Family Tree Market, and this really started out of studying disparity gaps and trying to understand what underserved areas needed. Food was a big part of that. Economic development was a big part of that. So as a purpose, we're all about healthier communities and building equitable systems. We do it different ways. It's not specific to kind of a Family Tree Market store per se. We've done that with multiple communities here, just bringing grocery stores into communities, and we're all about it. So we're really excited to be supporting and kind of helping you all in that way. I'm not sure what slide you guys are looking at. I am on the systems, the food systems slide here, but these are the 4 points here that line up to what we try to do when we get involved with the community. Food access is the most, I think this is the most relatable piece in that we believe communities should have access to affordable, quality foods. But these next 3 points are very, very important, certainly to us, just the same. Food security is a big part of what makes us so excited about this project, in that being able to have communities take control of their food supply, a nutritious food supply in small ways, big ways, I think is a big step forward for a lot of our communities. Inclusive economies goes hand in hand with that, in that there's ways to work with partnerships to deliver that kind of value for the overall community. And health there is near and dear to our hearts. Daniel isn't on this phone, but he has a health background, and the two of us are committed to making sure that the communities we serve improve from a health perspective. I'm at the value point slide. So from a value point perspective, this is a community-owned store. We think that's an important thing to understand, 100% owned by the community. We certainly will be involved and will use strategic partners in order to meet some of our overall goals. But this will be a full amenity store. So there's the frozen foods. We want this to be comprehensive across all of the things that you would expect at a traditional grocery store. We can go to the next slide and really talk about our involvement. We certainly already talked about community ownership and really supporting that with a system that works for not just groceries, but also in terms of overall health. We wanted this to be an economic development initiative, so there is going to be a series of jobs that are created as a result of this particular project. We have it's about 60, 70 jobs there in Hazelwood, as well as training. Training is going to also be a big part of this, career training that you can kind of take with you, as well as profit sharing opportunities. We're extremely excited about that. We're extremely excited about the partnerships. The partnership angle here, I think, is very differentiating in that we want to work with food entrepreneurs in the Hazelwood community and integrate them with this particular project, so that this store isn't just big for the employees, but also for the surrounding communities and some of the goals and aspirations of food entrepreneurs in that particular community. We also, Juan already talked about some of the farming aspects, which will be extremely innovative. So this project here is cutting a different kind of thread in terms of community development, and we're extremely excited about that. And lastly, health is always something that's near and dear to us. How do we have healthier communities? How we build healthier communities? We're going to have services that support that along the way. So we're really excited to be a part of this project overall.
Thanks, Khalid. Before we move it to Krish, I just want to talk a little bit about... Yeah, can you mute yourself? Pete's coming on. Sorry, Pete, go ahead. Before Krish gets on, I want to talk about the past and how Hazelwood has been trying to get a grocery store. And there have been many opportunities to where we, studies have been done on Hazelwood to get a grocery store, but now we're to the point where we're asking community support to push this forward and to continue, not just asking, but lending your voice and demanding that we get this store up and running, and your participation in this whenever we take this to zoning or taking it to the URA. But now I want to pass it to Krish.
All right, no, thank you for that. That's actually a good segue into what I want to talk about, because when we started, firstly, Krish Pandya from Oak Moss. We're not strangers to the neighborhood. We've been in the neighborhood since 2016. Oak Moss has been working on restoring the historic property on Monongahela, the Woods House, and we've been fairly close with the community groups. We've been working closely with Hazelwood Initiative, the URA, and various folks in the communities. So in 2020 or 21, when we started working on another development called the Woods Village, which I won't talk a lot about on this meeting, but we found out that there was a lot of talk about the grocery store, but people didn't believe that it was possible. And that kind of surprised us, that how is it not possible to have a community of 5,000 people not able to support a grocery store? So we were, that's really what was a little shocking to us. And not only with that fact, the fact that in about 3 to 5 years or 10 years, the population of Hazelwood, with all the different projects going on, was going to double, if not triple. How is it that this is not possible? So we joined the team and we said, look, our role really was just, let's look at the viability. Can the business, from a business perspective, is this possible? And what we did is we took a holistic approach. We looked at everything. We looked at census data. We looked at some of the surveys. And I just want to go back to one offer that you made, data. We could not get our hands on public data, and we would love to get our hands on new data to refresh the study from Giant Eagle. So absolutely we'll take you up on that. But we struggled for data, and we tried to get the data, look at the census data, look at how much is Hazelwood spending every year on a household. How much are they spending? How much are you spending per week? Where are you spending it? You know, what are the options? And when we looked at all of that, and we said, okay, and this was in 2021, 2022, not 2023 with all the inflation. You're spending a lot more, I guarantee you that. And then we looked at what data was available in terms of sustaining a grocery store. How much revenue do you really need to create per square foot to sustain it? And that was great, because we brought this wonderful architect team on board that started looking at it and say, yes, we can actually put 14,000 square foot or even more of a grocery store. So when we put all the data together, and I won't bore you with all the statistics, we crunched all the numbers, we said, yes, if 75, and this is a conservative to start off with, if 75% of the residents buy their groceries from the store, yes, this will start becoming sustainable. So this was all about, can we sustain a grocery store? The answer was yes, it's a great start. When we come on board, and if the community supports it, 75% buy their food from there, we will survive. However, the story gets better. As the new population comes, as all these projects that Hazelwood Initiative, Hazelwood Green, and everybody's working, it even gets profitable. And so all the opportunities we talked about, the jobs, the training, all that becomes real. But it takes time. And I also want to go back to what Kevin said, which is it takes time. So you will have to have patience. All businesses take 2 to 3 years to start becoming operational. You'll get trained. It's not easy, but the long story is amazing. So we're here to support you. I won't go into all the details. I think this is a very viable project. We had some recommended next steps. One is obviously to continue the project development on the building, the schematics, the financing, the pro formas, get more data, refresh the market study, but also meet with all the developers, get a better idea of what this neighborhood is going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years. I think that picture is going to look very different. There's going to be a lot more people here. It's going to sustain. There are going to be more jobs and more opportunities. So I'm just going to end it with that. I think this is a great opportunity for this group to actually talk about what we've been doing over the last 2 to 3 years. I thank you for the opportunity, and we look forward to supporting the community on this project. Thank you.
All right, Pete, you're up.
Hey everybody. Hope y'all can hear me now. My name is Pete Byford. And I am, you got me? Yeah. Yes.
We can hear you, Pete.
Perfect. So my name is Pete Byford, and I am with a company called Tax Advantage Group. I'd like to lead, apologize that I can't be in Pittsburgh live with you today, but I'm excited to be with you remotely and to be a part of this project. My firm is specifically focused on bringing a federal tax credit subsidy called the New Market Tax Credit Subsidy to the program, or to this project. And I think you can see there a slide with the team of folks at Advantage Capital who work with me in order to help bring this subsidy in. And maybe if we can go to the next slide with the diagram, if you will, of the program. This is a really fantastic federal program which is designed as a public-private partnership between project borrowers like you, independent third-party conduit lenders called community development entities who work directly with the Department of Treasury to identify projects in lower income communities or communities that have historically been overlooked for significant capital investment. And they are able to issue federal tax credits to investors like PNC Bank and others who buy those credits in order to offset their tax liability, and the community development entity is then able to use that cash to invest in projects like the Innovation Center in order to pay some of the costs of the overall development. So in many ways it feels or sounds, as we describe it, like a grant, but it is a true equity investment into the project, but it doesn't take away ownership from the local community. So we're very excited to be a part of the project, and if we're completely successful, then we can bring up to about $3 million worth of the total project costs from that federal program alone. So excited to be here, excited to be working on the project, and look forward to hearing who's next.
Thanks, Pete. Pete is also partnering with PNC to bring these credits to the community. Oh, we're going to pass it to Mora, who is coming from the Easton Food Co-op, to share a little bit more about community ownership and employee ownership.
Mora Holiday, Easton Food Cooperative. I'm the general manager there. We are we are the only current cooperatively owned grocery store in the Pittsburgh area. And we were invited to the conversation to offer operational expertise in this area. We are a consumer cooperative, so a slightly different model than what your community is looking to do. But all of our employees are worker owners or are member owners and have equal shares as our shopper owners do as well. We have been in operation for approximately 43 years. It depends on who you ask. We were a food buying club prior to being a store. We moved to the East End from the Garfield area back about 30 or so years ago, and been in our current location on Meade Street over near Extra Storage Space on South Braddock. So we're over there, and we operate about $12.3 million in sales out of a very small space, which is promising for cooperative growth in the city. So,
thank you.
Oh, my God. Good evening, everybody. My name is Bill Bailey. I'm with the presidency, just again, the president and CEO of Infinite Prosperity and of D1 Associates. My role in this whole thing is to, well, just back up a little bit. D1 Associates is the company that we started, my wife and I. And that company was designed to help partner for-profit companies with nonprofit entities to help raise money for them. And then we went from there to starting the nonprofit Infinite Prosperities. And that entity is designed to help build wealth in poor communities through ownership, community and common ownership of critical financial assets. So it's important for communities to own their assets so they don't leave. We were talking about this earlier, how a grocery store, we've seen this before. A grocery store can be here and then it can be gone the next day because the owners decide it's not profitable, right? So if you own the property, if you own the grocery store, let's say, for example, that's an asset that will not leave until you guys decide to close it, Okay, that's important. The other thing we have to focus on is building wealth at the individual level. You know, it's great to have a grocery store and everything else, but, you know, having money to spend in the grocery store is also pretty good, right? So that's another thing that we focus on. We focus on financial education, helping folks get the most out of their dollars, and even being able to earn extra money. We're working on something like this. Pastor didn't even know this yet, but we've gotten some preliminary approvals to bring in companies that focus on, let's say, for example, getting mortgages for folks, okay? Also to help with their personal finances, to get them putting money aside for college education, retirement, and things like that. These are all things that are important at the individual level that has been overlooked in communities like ours for decades. So that's what my role is, this whole thing. We're partnering with all these folks here. A lot of these folks I actually helped bring on board, which is cool, because I've never done this before, I'll be honest with you. But once again, it's important to own the assets, but it's also important to have money to spend in those assets, okay? So that's what my role is, and I'm looking forward to, and I'm really excited to be a part of this whole thing.
I'm Carl from the Hill District Consensus Group. The #1 issue in the Hill was also a grocery store that people wanted. And in the community benefits agreement, we really fought to be able to have our grocery store building, build it out exactly as the operator wanted it built out. That building and the build out is owned by the Hill House Economic Development Corporation, and an owner was brought in to operate the store. The owner operated the store for a number of years until the subsidy basically kind of ran out. And then the owner was able to walk away from the store. So we had a store. Store was the #1 thing, just like here. We got a store, but we lost a store. And part of the reason we lost it is because it wasn't your store. It was owned, the actual grocery part was owned by an independent owner who was able to walk away. One of the reasons we picked that independent owner also was because the owner was open to having union employees in the store. So the store was open, it was operational, the workers there were union workers, but the workers there didn't own it either. They were just with the union, so when the owner walked away, the union people were out of a job as well. So this community ownership idea that we have, an employee ownership idea that what we have, is very important, but even that is not a guarantee. Because like you said, like we still gotta have money to shop in the store. And 75% of everybody in the neighborhood, plus I gotta go get some people from the Hill District to come over here in order to try to really have this store have a good chance of success. But I went to some meetings early on with GH Cared, Poor Law, the initiative, but definitely you're on the right track, but the solution is not up here on this stage. The solution is with the residents in the community.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Carl. This is Barb. So yeah, I mean, I kind of want to continue a little bit on that point, right? We know that Hazelwood needs a grocery store, right? We know this, and I want to read this. This was on one of the earlier slides, but I want to read it again. This is a quote from the Greater Hazelwood Neighborhood Plan that this community put together and published in 2019 together with the city. And it says, quote, "Participants overwhelmingly desire a neighborhood grocery store and would welcome locally owned small businesses. Of particular interest was the intersection at Hazelwood and 2nd Avenues." And that is where we are proposing this store. That is where we have site control. The URA has been wonderful in their support in allowing us to, because this takes time, right? This takes lots of time. The URA has been great about supporting us and letting us, hold on to that site and as we work through all these very complicated processes. Another thing that I think, because just as the council person for the whole district, I can tell you that there are people across this district that would be more than happy to shop their values in a co-op grocery store. There are people who would be in Squirrel Hill South and Greenfield. There are commuters who come back and forth from the 31st Ward every single day to go to work downtown and elsewhere in the city that would be happy to have this grocery store local, that they can come and shop and know that they are supporting food access and supporting the Hazelwood community and helping them thrive. And the other thing I want to say is that, you know, when we talk about community benefits agreements, right, we have a large development here in Hazelwood going up right next door. And anybody here who's been coming to community meetings at HI and at the GHCC, I can tell you that the folks at Almano, whether it's CMU or it's Pitt or it's the businesses that are in Mill 19, they are interested, they want to partner with Hazelwood, with the Hazelwood community. They are interested in coming in and making sure that this development doesn't just happen right next door. They care about having this development uplift the community. As the development grows, the community grows, and we all grow together. So that is why they need to hear from you, right? They need to hear from your community leaders. They need to hear from you that this is a project worth investing in. Because if you're excited about it, they will be excited about it. Okay? And I know that everyone up here is excited about it. So I'm just going to leave it at that for me. I know that we're going to go into the Q&A, but I want to thank everyone up here. This project has been going on. I just want everyone to know, for over 2 years, this team has been growing and working hours and hours every week, working to bring this project. It takes time, but the work is happening and the dedication is incredible. I know Sandra is going to talk later, but you know, Sandra and Pastor Love and everyone on this stage have just been putting in an incredible amount of work, and so I want to make sure that that's acknowledged. But thanks. Yeah. So I'll hand it back to Amber for the Q&A.
I'm going to give it to Sandra first for closing. Yeah.
Yeah. Just wondering, I know that the URA didn't have a slide, but Gordon is here. I was wondering if he would like to make a statement for the URA, please.
I'll make this brief since it's getting late. My name is Gordon Hall. I'm with the Urban Redevelopment Authority, and I'm the project manager for this project. I just want you all to know that this project is taking place on Urban Redevelopment Authority owned property, and the URA has allowed and granted site control to the Poor Law and GH Care team for that time to allow the team to assemble this panel here and work on pre-development work, which includes architectural, engineering, environmental site assessments, and all the work that it takes behind the scenes before you see a shovel go into the ground. As the councilwoman mentioned, this project has been going on for over 2 years, and the URA has been supportive and will continue to be supportive, and we hope you're all excited. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lord.
Sorry, Gordon. Here's Sandra. I'm going to give that to you.
So it's my turn, y'all. Okay. So real quick, I just want to say, the mic's not on? Okay. So what I would like to say to all of y'all that came out, I want to say thank y'all so much. It means so much to me. I just sat in my truck and I just watched everybody come in. You know what I mean? And that meant a lot to me, y'all. You know what I mean? This work ain't easy, but it's worth it. I feel like we're worth it. You know what I mean? We need a grocery store. We don't just want a grocery store, but we need a grocery store no matter who's doing it. We need it. right? That's why we came out. That's why you guys came out to hear about the grocery store that's so much needed. We've been talking about this for decades. So it's our time, y'all, and we got to be careful with this time because God works in certain seasons, and it's the season right now. It's the season for the store, so we need y'all, okay? So understand, I want to, you know, make sure y'all understand that we need y'all. You know what I mean? I ain't going to sit up here and sugarcoat like we don't, we do. Okay? And I appreciate everyone that came out this evening. And I want to thank Nigel for catering the food, the city county channel, their team. Y'all was awesome. So we're ready for the Q&A right now. All right? Thank you, guys.
Where the mic gets passed.
Thanks for taking the time. I know it's a lot of work, especially for having this for us tonight. Like you said, it's a lot of hard work. I was a poor justice ambassador to see the work person, the pastor of Pittsburgh, and everything to do for it. Thank you. I set a question for Diane specifically at the mobile market as well as what you mentioned, and I'm down for notice. There appears to be a lot of noise. We be mindful of one another. My question is that mentioning my family for we appreciate you. What type of support do you have in mind? My other question is about income community. We do not currently accept cash. There are people in this community who are trying to be careful with credit cards in this inflationary time, who might be escaping domestic violence. And it's not safe for them to use credit cards, or they may not have SNAP benefits because they're in retreat homes. This is short. Here we have a key for certain people to travel out there. We might have lost their eligibility at the workforce. What are you doing to facilitate cash payments? It has frankly stopped a lot of people from going to your mobile. Marcus, the interest rates are very, very high right now. Have you thought about experimenting financial responsibility for accepting cash payments?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you hear her question?
I heard the second one. The first one
was, what is Giant Eagle going to do to support? What does that support look like for the grocery store? This second question is taking cash.
Yeah. So first question in terms of the support and what that support looks like, lending our expertise. I think a lot of that right now is a process, right? What can we do? We are learning. What are we learning from the mobile market? So there is some information, you know, on the store design and the layout and supplying the groceries at wholesale cost. I don't know what all of those answers are, quite honestly, yet. This is learning and growing. Some of the information that I shared are things that we have done in the past. We're certainly open to other opportunities as well. Employee engagement, training, point of sale systems, all of that is within our wheelhouse. So as we kind of progress with everyone here, we're going to learn about that and talk about that. All of that is on the table. In terms of the cash question, great question. That is something that we have talked a lot about internally, and we've wrestled with internally, and what is the best way to do that. Again, I don't know that there is a perfect answer. We've had mixed thoughts from all sorts of different communities. What I will say is this: there are a total of, I think, 11 mobile market communities right now. There are a handful of locations where we are doing a cash exchange for gift cards at community centers. So happy to have some of those discussions. I don't know if it's with Hazelwood Initiatives or whatever that may be, but we can certainly talk about those opportunities. We are starting to talk about what makes most sense.
Just harvest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm just kind of brainstorming, but I know that Just Harvest has been in things like farmers markets, maybe a token system where it could be exchanged. It has worked very well in a lot of farmer market systems. I don't know if you thought about that possibility.
Yeah, so great question. I know Ken very well at Just Harvest. I know Dana very well at Just Harvest. So we talk quite a bit. I have seen the tokens. I have seen the farmers market vouchers as well. My understanding, I actually was in a conversation today about a similar voucher system in Ohio. So we are starting to understand how those process through our systems. We do need to have some agreements in place with food bucks and all of those folks. So we are starting that process and that understanding, but we're in those conversations quite a bit.
Thanks, Melinda.
Hello. All right, so I have like several different questions. This one is a three-part question. It's about the ownership. How many owners can you have in the store per year? And do you have to live within the community and to have ownership? And what is the percent that you own when you are in the store?
Pass it to Kevin, please.
Thanks. Those are great questions, and I'll try to remember all three of them. First of all, there's no limit to the number of owners that could be part of the organization. In the creation of a cooperative, a worker cooperative business, there will be a plan document that's developed that creates a lot of the operating procedures, but there's no limit on how many. What was the second question? I'm sorry.
Do you have to live within the community to have ownership?
The short answer is, in a worker cooperative, no. But if in the plan document they decide that that's part of the process, then that would be part of the process. But there's no requirement. Worker cooperatives and other forms of cooperatives like Laura's are actually structured at the state level. Pennsylvania is one of a bunch of states that actually has a formal organization called a cooperative business. Not every state does. And they sort of establish the basic rules. And there's no limit as to where you have to live.
Okay, and my last question is, what percentage of the business do you own when you become an owner?
What percentage of the business do the workers own?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, 100% of the business, okay? Typically in a worker cooperative, the sort of statement is one person, one vote. In terms of managing the business together, and it's generally equally owned by the people that work there. Now, that doesn't have to be that way. You can make other decisions, but in most worker cooperatives, it's equally owned by the people that work there. Now, if you work a half a year, well, you might not have the same ownership stake as somebody who worked a full year. Does that make sense? Good.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
My last question is, my concern is about the handicap accessibility. It's very important because most places, restrooms, everything, not just getting in. So.
Take that, Chad.
That's a good question. New buildings today, we have to follow all codes that the city and the state put in front of us. So we'll have handicap accessible parking, we'll have handicap accessible elevators, bathrooms, access to pretty much everything in the store is going to be handicap accessible. That's something that we don't look past.
Kevin, could you explain a little bit more? Sorry, can you pass it back? Can you explain a little bit more about that ownership? Whenever we're asking about everyone owns 100%, what is that 100%? Is it profit? Is it asset? Is it like what exactly is that being owned?
Right. So the ownership of the business is not transferable. So in other words, you can't sell shares of the stock. You can't do that. but the business itself is restricted from somebody else coming in and buying it underneath the thing. One of the things that happens in the process of creating a worker cooperative is you establish a leadership committee, okay? So you know, you're not going to vote every day on whether to open the doors at 8 o'clock or whatever, but there's certain things that everyone's going to have a say in that affect the business, and you decide what those things are beforehand. The business can have members in addition to worker owners. So for example, there's a good example or a good sample or template of this out in Ohio. It's called Gem City Market. It's in Dayton. And Gem City Market has worker owners who own the business as a group. There are members that have certain benefits or rights, and then there's the community. Anybody can come in. So imagine some levels of benefit, and at the top level, the worker owner level, profits, any profits that the business would have, would be shared by the worker owners. Now, I want to caution you, and Krish kind of touched on this a little bit. There may not be a profits year one. The business needs to develop itself and grow, etc. So we need the support of the community to understand that, but that over time it can become a benefit for each of the people that work there.
Thanks, Kevin.
Sure.
Okay, bear with me, I have a toothache. I want to say it's a good idea to bring the grocery store here. I believe this community is diverse and it will sustain itself. The second thing is, how do we start now? Since the project is 3 years away, and this is for Mr. Bailey, how can we start our process so that when the building is being built, hey, this person already has their contractor's license where they can make money? Third is, I would like to own some stock and make some money off of the store in my community. How can I do that? Because I can't afford to live here any longer. So we need something that's going to help us to stay here too. There's going to be a grocery store because this community is changing, whether it comes from us or the people that buy everyone out. So I would like to know, how can we start? How soon can we start the process? When are the meetings going to start? So that when the 3 years come, or when it's time to break ground, people have their ducks in order so they can be a part of it. Because there's a lot of opportunities that come to this community, and they're like, oh, you have to have this MBD license, or I'm just saying any license, but we don't have it. We're not ready. How did I know about that? That information isn't privy, so I would like to know now. And I also would like to know if we can have a say on what banks are a part of this organization. Like, what banks? Do we have to do with PNC? Or is there other banks? Like, how can we explore other options?
So PNC, PNC is coming in to help us. They're not coming in to be the bank. We're looking at credit union. We're looking at a credit union in our community versus a bank. But PNC, thanks, Bill. PNC is here to help us with our tax credit. That's what they're here to do. Okay? And when you say, how do we get started now? That's a very, very good question, because we have to start now. So we do have committees. We're gathering people's names who want to be on these different committees. So that is happening. And I'm saying, you know, this grocery store is one thing, y'all, that we need to unify on, but there's other things that we also need to unify on, you know what I mean? So when we call these meetings, y'all have to come out. They can't just hear me and Pastor Love's voice. Y'all have to come out as a community. But there's a steering committee?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
The key thing here is that when Kevin and Ron are ready to start, the first thing we like to do is establish a steering committee of interested people, residents. It could be anywhere between 7 to 10 to start off with. These people will help shape the whole ownership scenario of the grocery store. They will help write the bylaws. You know, they'll help they'll help with the study of what food should be, along with the studies that we have, what food should be in the store, so that we can begin to grow. So we're looking right now, and you can do it before you leave here, sign up with any one of us sitting on this table, 10 people. That's it. If we get more, that's good. But we need 10 people that's willing to start the steering committee and start training by Kevin McPhillips, who you heard, and Ron Gatus, because that's going to be doing the training, that's interested in start training right now, getting all the information about what it is so that we can spread the word, the gospel, all through the community. But we'd like to have 10 people.
Okay, and I did have one more thing too. What about Miss Diane? What's going to be her part in her store? Is she a part of it? Miss Diane.
Oh, yeah, everybody's a part of it. So listen, this is what I want y'all to understand. This is what I want y'all to understand. We're not here to compete with nobody. We're not. We're here to unify. Okay? So Diane, she ain't gonna lose. This is a win-win situation. Okay?
We went to Diane first.
Yes.
When we first started this, she was one of the first persons that we went to ask her if she would like to own the grocery store. She heard it, was no, but she was supported. The second question we asked her, would the grocery store hurt the business? She said no. In fact, it would increase my business. And that's her example. So she's one of the people in the community that we went to first. And that's all she said. It's a unified effort.
They're coming. They're coming.
Yeah, and just to address, since she said my name specifically, the part that I would be involved with doesn't have to wait 2 years to get started. Okay, getting money into the pockets of the people here tonight in the community tonight, not tonight, but now, that can happen as soon as like next week. Okay, that process can start. Okay, right. So, yeah, the idea is to, because the education of the financial education can start immediately, getting people educated works where they can not overspend on certain things and then free that money up for whatever, groceries and everything else. That can all start now. Okay, so when the grocery store happens, whenever those doors open, the community will be well educated, number one. Number two, have some extra money in their pocket to spend in the grocery store and the community, and that can, like I said, can happen very, very quickly.
Hi. Hi, so Melinda knows me, but for everybody else on the panel and everyone else here, my name is Dawn Marie Klepper Hall, and I'm the Director of Community Food Access at Just Harvest. And I have, thank you, and I have been the principal investigator on some previous grocery store feasibility studies, and I have a question and a concern about the feasibility study in particular. Yeah, so my question and concern about the feasibility study, I know that you said that the store needs to get 75% of the local market capture to be successful. Just to be clear, Walmart and Giant Eagle combined only capture 46% of Pittsburgh's grocery market. And so how are you going to get not only every dollar they're not getting, but more than half of the ones that they are? Like, what is your plan to reach a 75% feasibility number?
Yeah, I can get that. So no, thank you for that. Great question. This was a preliminary feasibility study, and there's so many different factors in studies. The data you provided is great, but what were the different stores that were operating around Walmart and Target? You got to understand that as Hazelwood, there's nothing here. The geography, the amount of, there is a lot going on in this particular neighborhood that you cannot just pluck data from outside and say, it's not going to work here. And the point is, good question. That's why we say this is a preliminary study, and we recommended some steps. And the first step is trying to understand the local data that Giant Eagle is going to collect in terms of spend, in terms of people that are coming. So with just 2 days, a couple of hours, what are they getting, right? That provides the potential. The other thing that's missing in the study is the population growth. You have to understand that the feasibility depends on the size of the market. And the market, just Hazelwood Green, is going to double the size of the population. So if you look at that aspect, you look at all the other aspects, we're not saying this is a definitive study. We're saying the viability is there. We're recommending some next steps to continue working as the other parts of feasibility study progress. So excellent point. More data is required, and that needs to be worked through. But what we disagreed with 100% up front is somebody telling us that you cannot have a grocery store here, right? So let me finish. So that is the point, that you cannot take data from East Liberty and somewhere else or something and saying that's all you're capturing, but they have 5 grocery stores in East Liberty. You cannot capture 75% of the store. That's just, it takes time. So that's the purpose of the study. We're not saying it's done.
Here, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm asking what your plan is.
So our plan is really not to question. Before we get to reaching that, we have to really understand what is going to happen to this neighborhood in the next couple of years, and how much money is being spent today. We don't understand that, and that's why the data is important, and that's what we need to look at. Once you do that, what you're talking about is capturing the market. That comes down the line. We need to understand the market better, and we need to understand the projects, and we need to understand where this neighborhood is going to go with all the growth that's happening right now. So you're right, but more work to be done. Thank you.
Pass, Pastor. Well, hold on, Pastor Love. They're going to pass you the mic.
There's no question. I want to ask you that because it's a very important question. Let's understand that our efforts to put a store here is a little bit out of the box. Thank you. We're thinking out of the box, but straight. The way that we're going to get around your question is go through your question. The people in this community is going to support the store because it's theirs, it's ours, and we need it. We don't have to worry about all these or Walmart or Giant Eagles or nothing. And like Melinda said, when they came out here with the mobile unit, they had 200 products on that mobile unit. Now it's up to 700. Why? Because the people in the community requested additional items to be on it. Those additional items are going to be solid in our store. And if you think for a moment, anybody in this community want to leave here and go to Giant Eagle somewhere else or Aldi somewhere else, you're mistaken. They're going to go right where they can walk into this store and get the products that they demanded there. And that's because we're going to support it. So we're not going to go by any traditional studies. We're not going to go by what they told us. Well, you can't support a store, but they take our money from here, and they support their stores. So you'll be surprised how much money people in the greater Hazelwood community spend at Walmart and Giant Eagles and Aldi's. And they have to pay $20 to get there. Anytime a parent in this community cannot get WIC for their infant children, there's a problem. Okay? Anytime, no matter who's here. So to answer your question, and anybody else who questioned the stability of this store, ask the residents yourself. People that we haven't even talked to. There's not a resident, I believe, in this community right now or in this room, and we haven't talked to everybody, that you ask what's the number one thing in this community they need. And we've been doing this for 20 years and straight. They put down grocery store. Number one. So unfortunately, the private and public developers have not come up with idea. We in the community have. So we're going to try to work with everybody to make this work. But one thing about it, the people in the community will have a grocery store that they could walk up to or drive up to, and what they need in that grocery store will be there. But that's why we're taking our time to do it.
Yeah, we are still collecting information in regards to the grocery store, but it's also something to process is that this is a co-op. We are trying a value-based approach, and we need to collect more data to process that information.
So, hey, Amber, these two guys had their hands up.
We're about at time, so I think we'll have a couple more questions.
Please tell us when the next meeting's going to be so that we can know when our next information is coming, so that we can participate. That's my question. When is the next meeting?
So did you give your information to the people at the desk? When you got
Yes, I did.
Okay, we'll retrieve that information.
Is that meeting planned?
Yes.
But if you have, we don't have to have a meeting, a big meeting. We meet with individuals as well. So anybody in this room, you have a question, you want to meet with us, we'll meet with you. And one person or 20 people, don't make no difference to us. All right? So don't think no meeting is too small. If you probably want to have a meeting and come up and give us a help and talk to us, you want to join the committee, our doors are open all the time. Before we leave this room, give us your name, whether you sign up or not, and you want to meet, we will.
There's one or two people that are
If folks who don't get to ask questions, if you could put your questions at the front next to your contact information, we can follow up.
Mr. Love. Okay. My name is Carolyn Williams, and I have a question for Mr. Love, who I have known for over 60 years since elementary school. He had a neighborhood store, him and his friend Will. Will this be similar to the store you all had, the neighborhood store?
In Hazelwood or his? Oh, your store out there in Westgate.
Yes, in Westgate Village we had the Ujamaa, and that means cooperative economics. And yes, it'll be similar to it as far as ownership. People in Broadhead Manor and Westgate Village owned that store. They set the prices and they supported that store. Unfortunately, the politics in that area caused it to close, but yes, the difference in that store though, in this store, is that this will be a full service store, meaning that it will be a butcher in the store. And we didn't have a butcher out in Westgate, but yes, to answer your question, it'll be similar. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Stephen O'Brien, and I work for the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank. And earlier, Pastor Love mentioned the recently established Food Justice Fund, which I know there are several members up on the stage and down here in the audience that have been part of that effort. And along with the Food Justice Fund, there are also other federal and state dollars to assist with creating food access points in food apartheid communities such as Hazelwood. Councilwoman or Peter, could you just speak to how the Food Justice Fund or some of these other federal and state dollars could be leveraged to benefit this specific product so we can lower the overall debt that's taken on so that the community can benefit earlier? Thank you.
Thank you so much for mentioning that. Forgive me.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Yeah, so thank you, Susan. I appreciate you bringing up the Food Justice Fund. That's another, so before I answer the question, one other point that didn't get mentioned earlier, and I think is very important just for the folks in the community to understand, is that in addition to doing all this work around the grocery store, in addition to partnering with Giant Eagle and getting the mobile market here in Hazelwood and up in Glen Hazel, Pastor Love and Miss Sandra have also been working closely with the food justice partners across the city to help establish the $3 million Food Justice Fund right here in the city of Pittsburgh this year. So that is a huge amount of work, just so that as a community you understand that not only are they here advocating for this store here in Hazelwood, they are advocating for food access across the city. Now, I'm not going to get up and say like X number of dollars from the fund is going to go to this. I can't do that, right? But I can say that Pastor Love is part of that committee. These are conversations that this grocery store will be part of that conversation. And as far as other grants from federal dollars, et cetera, I look forward to working. I see all of our food justice partners in the background. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and they have the food justice survey that if you would please take on your way out. So I know that those partners will work with us to figure out ways to access all those additional dollars that are out there. So thanks for the question.
They all here. They all.
Well, they should be.
So if you guys want to sign up for the committee, anybody's interested in the committee that we talked about, Stacy is going around with the sign-up sheets.
There's Stacy out.
All right, well, we're just going to end the night here. Thank everybody. Thank you all for joining us. Please sign in so you can be updated on when the next meetings are, when the steering committees are launching, what the next information is. Come to the mobile market Saturday and Wednesday.